Okay, so I'm continuing the final review. I'm still on page 3. The last 4 want me to indicate whether the series is arithmetic or geometric, and then find the sum. So remember, arithmetic is if there's an adding pattern, adding or subtracting. Geometric is multiplying or dividing. So on this first one, I am subtracting each term by 4. So the way I write this is I'm going to write n equals 1, and then it tells me there's 26 terms, so I'm going to write 26 up top. My first term was 3. I keep subtracting 4, and then I'm going to have n minus 1. So if I want to type this into my calculator, I go math, I arrow down to choice 0, which is summation with the sigma. I press enter, then I do x, type in the 1, type in 26 up top, and then I type in 3 minus 4 times x minus 1, and then I press enter, which gives me negative 1,222. On this one, I am dividing by 2, so I am going to again start at 1. And this time, I start with my first term, which is negative 60. And dividing by 2 is the same thing as 1/2, multiplying over and over again, n to the minus 1 power. So I'm going to type this in. I go math, choice 0. I'm going to do x, 1. This time I'm going to 14 terms. I have negative 60 times 1/2 to the x minus 1 exponent. Does this one turn into a nice fraction? It turns into a fraction. So I have negative 245,745 over 2,048. Okay, this next one, it just gives me it already with the notation. So I go math 0, x, 1, 9. Then I just type it in. I have negative 3 times 2 to the x minus 1, which is negative 1,533. Same thing over here. I go math 0, x. This time I'm actually starting at 4. Then I'm going to 39, and I am using 5x plus 2. So this one gets me 3,942. This one wants me to use a graph to solve each equation. So remember, we split this up into 2 different graphs to graph. This first one is x plus 6. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I go up 1 over 1. And my next one is the absolute value of x minus 4. So this is going right 4 from the origin, and then it still goes up 1 over 1. So, absolute values, remember, are V-shaped. So it's only going to cross once, which is right here. Which is a little bit off because of how I drew it. It should be negative 1. It's just my x value. I only put x values for this one. They cross at the x value of negative 1. Same thing over here. I'm going to graph the line in blue. So I'm starting at 4. Going up 2 over 5. Connecting with my line. On the other one, I'm going to graph that on the calculator first to see what it looks like. I can go math, and then arrow over to num. My first choice, abs, is going to give me absolute values. Oh, but I want to do that when I'm not on the equal sign. Then I just type that in, so I have 4 minus 2x. So it looks like that. Oops, I want to be doing this one in red. Okay, this one is crossing at 2 spots. This one right here is at 0, and then again at 5. this one wants me to use a graph to solve the inequality. I'm going to graph it on my calculator. So I have x squared plus 4x minus 5. Go ahead and graph this. I just care about where it's crossing. It's crossing at 1 and negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. I want values less than 0, so that is below the x-axis right there. This is between negative 5 and 1. So I write it in a combination inequality. Same thing for number 4. I'm going to graph this one. So I go math, num, choice 1 for absolute values, x plus 3 minus 4. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that one's crossing at negative 7. And then at 1. And then I just want to draw a rough sketch of this, because my y values aren't important, just my x values. I want it greater than or equal to 0, so above the x-axis my y values are positive. This is x is less than or equal to negative 7. I want to make sure my sign matches the sign up here with the line underneath. And then I also want x greater than or equal to positive. These ones want me to solve the systems of equations. This first one has a y isolated, so I'm going to take this and substitute in. So I have x plus 3 times the quantity of 7 minus x equals 7. Then I want to go ahead and distribute that 3. That's going to give me 21 minus 3x equals 7. Combine like terms, that gives me negative 2x plus 21 equals 7. Subtract 21 on both sides. Negative 2x equals negative 14. Divide both sides by negative 2. X equals 7. Then I want to plug in. I'm going to plug into my top equation. So I have y equals 7 minus 7, which gives me 0. My final answer here is 7, 0. You always write your ordered pairs in alphabetical order. A, x, y. So my next one. Neither of my variables are solved out. And I do have opposite signs, so I'm going to multiply this by 4 so I can use elimination with my x variable. So I have negative 4x plus 4y equals 16. I'm going to add it back to my top. So my x's cancel out. 4y plus 3y is 7y. 16 minus 16 is 0. Divide both sides by 7. Y equals 0. I'm going to plug into the bottom equation, so I have negative x plus 0 equals 4, negative x equals 4, divide both sides by negative 1, x equals negative 4. So my answer here is negative 4, 0. I'm going to do the same thing on my final one, since neither variable is isolated. I'm going to multiply the bottom by negative 4 to turn it into an opposite sign, so it's going to give me negative 12x plus 4y. Equals negative 16, and I'm adding back to my top equation, so I have 2x minus 4y equals negative 4. 4y's cancel out. Negative 12x plus 2x is negative 10x equals negative 20. Divide both sides by negative 10. X equals 2. Then I want to plug in, I'm going to pick the top equation, so I have 2 times 2 minus 4y equals negative 4. 2 times 2 is 4. Subtract 4 on both sides. Negative 4y equals 0. Divide both sides by negative 4. Y equals 0. So my answer here is 2, 0. Number 8 says last year a baseball team paid $20 per bat and $12 per glove, spending no more than $552. They bought 34 pieces of equipment. Let X represent the number of bats and Y represent the number of gloves. So, X is bats, Y is gloves. So I'm going to put in 20 and 12, and they only have $552 to spend. they can only buy 34 pieces of equipment, so that's going to be what it equals. I want to find if the team can buy 20 bats and 40 gloves. So I'm going to plug into my bottom inequality. Remember, bats is X, gloves is Y. So I'm going to do 20 times the 20 bats I want to see if I can buy, plus 12 times 14 gloves. And this needs to be at or below 552. I'm going to type this into my calculator. I have 20 times 20 plus 12 times 14. This gives me 568, which is not less than 552. So my answer here is go. Okay. This next one wants me to write an equation in vertex form. Y equals a times x minus h squared plus k in standard form, and y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. From the parent graph, y equals x squared. Use the transformation to write the equation. So number one says the graph is translated 4 units right. So I am going to have x minus 4 in the parentheses. And then it says it's 2 units up, so I'm adding 2. There is no a value because there's no vertical stretch. This is what it is. Standard form, I want to go ahead and multiply this out. So I have x minus 4 times x minus 4 plus 2. Filing out is going to get me x squared minus 4x minus 4x plus 16 plus 2. I'm going to combine like terms. I have y equals x squared. Negative 4x minus 4x is negative 8x. 16 plus 2 is 18. Number 2 says the graph is translated 2 units left. So that is going to be plus 2. And 5 units down. Again, no change in my vertical stretch or strength, so it's still y equals. Then to get this in standard form, I'm going to multiply it out. That's going to give me x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 4. Now I want to combine like terms. I have 2x plus 2x gives me 4x. 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Numbers 3 through 5 want me to identify my vertex and the axis of symmetry. In vertex form, this is really easy. It's just HK. So that is going to be positive 2, 3. It's always opposite sign for my x value. Axis of symmetry, I'm going to abbreviate AOS, and this is just the x value of my vertex. Over here on number 4, because it's in standard form, I want to use the formula negative b over 2a. So I need to identify my a, b, and c values. Then I'm going to plug in, this is negative 2 over 2 times negative 1, negative 2 over negative 2, it's positive 1. This is my axis of symmetry. Then I want to plug in to get my y value for my vertex. So I'm going to type that into the calculator. Which gets me 5. So my vertex is 1, 5. On number 5, I'm going to actually FOIL this out. So I'm going to get y equals x squared plus 4x minus 2x minus 8, which is x squared plus 2x minus 8. Then I'm going to use this formula. So I have my a value is 1, my b value is 2, and my c is negative 8. Plugging in, I get negative 2 over 2 times my a value of 1. So I have negative 2 over 2. It's negative 1. My axis of symmetry is negative 1. Plugging in, I can plug into my original equation. I have negative 1 minus 2 times negative 1, plus 4. Which gets me negative 9. So my vertex is negative 1, negative 9. This one wants me to write the equation of a parabola that passes through the following points. I'm going to do this by going to Stat, Edit. I'm going to type in, typing these in. These are going to be my L1s, and then Y's are going to be my L2s. So I have 1, 2, 3. And then I have -1, -5, -7. I go second quit to go home. I go I go stat and calc, and then I want to do quadratic, so I'm going to do choice 5. This is going to give me my equation, which is x squared minus 7x plus 5. Same thing over here. I'm going to go stat, edit, 2, 3, 6. And then -8, -8, 4. And I go second quit, stat, calc, choice 5, all the way down to calculate and press enter. And this one is y equals x squared minus 5x minus 2. Okay, so these last ones on this side want me to write an equation of the parabola in factored form. Y equals a times x minus p times x minus q. It gives me my x-intercepts. This is my p and q. And this is my point, so this is my x and y. So I have 9 equals a times 5 minus 1, 5 plus 4, because I do opposite the sign. Then I want to solve, so I have 9 equals a, 5 minus 1 is 4, 5 plus 4 is 9. I have 9 equals 36a. Let's divide both sides by 36. I get a equals 1/4. So then my formula is y equals 1/4, x minus 1, x plus 4. Same thing over here. This is my p, this is my q, x, y. So I have, oh, that was -3, equals a, because that's what I'm solving for, x minus 4, x, oops, not x. I know my x. That's 5. And 5 plus 1. So I have -3 equals a, 5 minus 4 is 1, 5 plus 1 is 6. So I have -3 equals 6a. Divide both sides by 6. A equals -1/2. So I plug back in. I have y equals -1/2. X minus 4. X plus 1. This next one says use the vertex form to write the equation of my parabola. I am going to plug in this as my hk, this as my xy, because it's the random point. So I have, instead of y, I have -3 equals a, and then 0 minus my h, which is -1, so that's adding 1, squared, plus my k, which is -6. And then I just want to solve this. So -3 equals a times 1 squared minus 6. 1 squared is 1. I don't have to write that, I just wrote it so you guys remember it's there. Then I want to add 6 to both sides. I get 3 equals a. So I can plug back in a, h, and k. I have y equals 3 times x plus 1 squared minus 6. On this one, 3 -2 is my hk. 2 -4 is my xy. So I'm going to have -4 equals a times my x, which is 2 minus 3 squared minus 2. So then I want to solve. I have -4 equals a times -1 squared minus 2. -1 squared is again 1. You want to add 2 to both sides. And I get a equals -2. Plugging in, I get y equals -2 times x minus 3 minus 2. And don't forget your squares on these. Number 12 wants me to use square roots to solve the equation. So I'm going to do this. It has a negative in this one, and because I'm taking the square root, I'm going to get two answers, plus and minus. So on my calculator, I'm going to do square root of 625, which is 25, and then it gets an I because it was negative. Over here, same thing, I'm going to get x equals plus or minus I square root of 5, because I can't actually solve that one. Over here, I get x equals, on 8, I can factor tree it into 2 and 4, and 2 and 2, so I can take out that pair. That is going to be 2i square root of 2. This one wants me to write the product in the form a plus bi. So on a FOIL, I have -20 plus 16i plus 15i minus 12i squared. Remember, I squared equals -1. So I have -20. 16 plus 15 is 31. And then I have -12 times -1. So I have -20 plus 31i plus 12. Combine those two together, gets me -8 plus 31i. Over here I want a FOIL. That's going to give me 36 minus 42i plus 42i minus 49i squared. So it's going to be 36 minus 49i squared, which is 36 minus 49 times -1, which is 36 plus 49. I don't know that one. It's 85. This one wants me to write the equation in the form x minus p squared plus or equals q. This one is going to need me to complete the square. I want to subtract 3 on both sides. I have x squared plus 4x equals -3. Then I want to find half of my b value. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 2 squared, which is 2 squared, or 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. Oops. I have x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 1. I want to factor my left side. That's going to be x plus 2 squared equals 1. This number is the same number that I had right there. So same thing for number 18. I want to subtract 13 on both sides. I have x squared minus 6x equals -13. I'm going to take half of -6 and square it. So -3 squared, which is 9. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. This one factors to x minus 3 squared, and this one adds up to -4. Number 19 wants me to use the quadratic equation to solve the formula. That is x equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I want to identify my a, b, and c. So my a is 1, my b is -8, my c is 17. Then I want to go ahead and plug in. I have -8 plus or minus -8 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times 1. -8 is +8. -8 squared is 64 minus 4 times 17 is 68. Over 2. So I have 8 plus or minus the square root of -4 over 2, which is 8 plus or minus 2i over 2. I want to individually split this up into 2 fractions. So I have 4 plus or minus I. Same thing for 20. My a is -1, my b is 10, and my c is -26. I'm going to go ahead and plug in. I have negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 10 squared minus 4 times my a times my c over 2 times a. So I have negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 100 times 4 times 26. 104 over negative 2, which is negative 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 4 again over negative 2. This is going to turn into 2i over negative 2. I split this into two fractions. That is going to give me 5 plus or minus I, because the negative 2, when I divide the positive one, it'll turn it negative, and when I divide the negative one, it'll turn it positive. This one wants me to solve the system of equations. I'm going to use substitution. So I'm going to have x plus 2 equals negative x squared plus 3x plus 2. I'm going to subtract x and subtract that 2. This gets me 0 equals negative x squared plus 2x, and then my 2's cancel out. I want to factor out an x, so I have x times negative x plus 2. I'm going to take each of my factors and set those equal to 0. So I have x equals 0, and then negative x plus 2 equals 0. I'm going to subtract 2. I have negative x equals negative 2. X equals 2. Then I want to plug both of those back in to find my y values. I'm going to pick the bottom equation. I have y equals 0 plus 2 equals 2. So that one gives me 0, comma 2, because I plugged in 0 and got out 2. Then I'm going to do y equals 2 plus 2, which gets me 4. So that one was 2, comma 4. This one wants me to simplify the expression below. I don't think we did this one. We didn't do this one, so don't worry about that. Number 2 wants me to simplify this to a quadratic expression, or see which one it simplifies. So, this one, I have to do the math and see if I only get 2 terms. I have, on this first one, if I combine, I get 5a squared plus 2a. And then I have 2 negative 1's, which gives me negative 2. It's not that one. This one I want to FOIL. I have 4x squared plus 10x minus 10x minus 25, which gives me 4x squared minus 25. That's 2 terms, so it's B. This one wants me to write my answer in standard form. I want to distribute that negative. So it's going to turn into a negative 4 plus x squared plus 3x cubed minus 11x. Combine like terms starting from highest to lowest. So I have my cubes. That's going to give me x cubed. Then I have just this x squared. Then I have 9x minus 11x, which gives me negative 2x. And then I have negative 4 and 18, which is 14. Number 4 wants me to simplify the expression, so I'm going to distribute. That's going to give me n to the 5th, because you add your exponents, minus 3n to the 4th, plus 8n cubed. Then I have 2n to the 4th, minus 6n cubed. I multiply the big numbers, add the exponents. And then 2n squared plus 8 is 16n squared. Again, I want to write this in order from highest to lowest, so I have n to the 5th. Then I have minus n to the 4th. I have 2n cubed. And then 16n squared. This next one wants me to simplify the expression, so really what I have is 2w minus 5 times 2w minus 5 times 2w minus 5. I need to multiply this all out. I am going to do the first 2 terms together, so that gives me 4w squared minus 10w minus 10w plus 25. Then I still have this 2w minus 5 at the end. I want to combine like terms. I'm going to have 4w squared minus 20w plus 25, still times the 2w minus 5. Distribute, that gets me 8w cubed minus 20w squared negative 40w squared plus 100w plus 50w minus 125. Combine like terms, I get 8w cubed minus 60w squared plus 150w minus 125. Number 6, I just want to divide all of these terms individually by 9ab. So on my first term, that's going to give me negative 2a to the 6th b squared. My second term, that's just going to give me a cubed b. And then on my last term, that's going to give me negative 7a. Okay, number 7 says if an even degree polynomial function has a positive leading coefficient, which graph could represent this function? Even means it goes like this or this. Positive means it always ends up, so that is C. This one wants me to describe the end behavior. Check all that apply. So this one is odd and negative. So odd from my exponent, negative from this up front. It should look something like this. So as x goes to positive infinity, f of x is going down. And as x goes to negative infinity, or it goes to the left, it's going up. Number 9 wants me to graph the function and identify all the key characteristics. My domain, because it's cubic, is all real numbers. And I am going to actually go ahead and graph this on my calculator. So I have x cubed minus 12x plus 45x minus 54. Okay. So let's zoom out a bit. Nope, I pressed the wrong zoom. And then I press enter to make it zoom out. Okay, so I'm going to figure out where that 0 is. I'm going to go second trace. 0. Then I want to see the cursor on the left side. I press enter. I cross the x-axis. I press enter again. Oh, I typed it in wrong. That's why it's not graphing right. Let's try this again. Let's zoom back into normal. That looks much better. So that is at 3 and 6. So my range, it goes up and down forever. This is negative infinity to infinity. My relative max is right here. That is 3, 0. And then my relative min, to find this on the calculator, I can go second trace, min. Same thing on how I found that 0 earlier. So I want to do the cursor on the left side. I want to be closer to the dip in the graph. I press enter. I arrow over to the right side. I press enter twice. This is 5, negative 4. My end behavior, as x goes to infinity, so as it goes to the right, my graph goes up. As x goes to the left, my graph goes down. Increasing is where I have a positive slope. So I have a positive slope from here and there. So it starts at negative infinity, and it stops at 3. It starts up again at this vertex, which is 5, and goes on forever. And then the next one I have is my decreasing intervals. This is where I have a negative slope. So this one is in between 3 and 5. And then my zeros are at 3 and 6. Number 10 wants me to find where the function is increasing. I'm going to go ahead and graph this one. So it's increasing from negative infinity to negative 5. And it starts up again at negative 3 and goes on to positive infinity.